Hello, I'm Bias Trades here, and today I'm going to be going over how to trade even when it doesn't go fully to your plan. I think this is a very important topic. Definitely in the beginning, you pretty much just want to stick to your plan. If it doesn't go to your plan, then tough luck, you know? But I know everyone has the urge to trade even when it doesn't go like fully to the plan levels or stuff like that, and sometimes it's appropriate. I think it's very rare you'll get a stock that goes perfectly to your plan. And when that does happen, just be happy it's an easy, relaxed trade. But most of the time, I'd say you have to adapt on the fly. The stock is constantly giving you new information you have to digest and think about. So it's just never that easy, you know? So let's get into this. So first, we're going to be going over, the only stock we'll be going over today is RVPH. This is how my like thesis planning looks in Excel. So in Excel, I'll put the ticker and the date and everything, and I'll be putting bag holders. So are there any bag holders from previous days? Pretty much I just look for, big rejection days on the daily, how much volume there was. I normally want 30 million plus, and obviously it has to be at a higher level than it was today. So they had 85 million from the 26th of April. So, it's semi-far, probably still a good amount, maybe bag holding. Obviously, it's not an exact science. You can't be, I can't track how many people are still holding it, but, you get a good idea. Next, this is a big one, dilution. So recently I've been learning about, reading SEC filings. There's a tons of important stuff you can get from dilution. I think, it's not for everyone. I think a lot of traders don't use it and there's no need to using it sometimes. And I think there is a fear that like previously on a day I was trading, I had way too much conviction because they just had so much dilution. They had offerings available, they had ATM shelves, they had everything. And that just made me a bit too convicted and I didn't really listen to the price action and I took just unneeded losses because I was super convicted. So you really need to train your brain to take that information but not be like overwhelmed or too confident on one particular thing. And it's very difficult when, everything lines up and you still have to tell yourself, hey, this looks like an amazing play, but it still doesn't have to like do the thing I want it to, right? But definitely look into dilution. So for this example, we knew they had warrants above $4 and it was pretty much like a shell company and it needs cash. Then I go into company solvency. So, how many months can they survive on their money right now and what's their burn rate? So this gives me an idea of, are they likely to use those ATMs or warrants because hey, if they've only got 10 months, 20 months to live, they're going to probably want that money. In this case, they had 41 months. That's not super long, decently long. So they may, use that. So I just kind of put that into my thesis as well. News, news, I don't really care about most of the time. I think a lot of people care about the news. I think that is like totally fine. It really depends on the news, to be honest. Most of the time, the news is just complete shit. It does not matter. In this case, it was decent news about phase three, but like if you read the article, there wasn't anything new. They just were like, hey, phase three is going well. That's about it. Like great, that's kind of good news, but does that really mean anything? Like it doesn't mean they can't get rejected or it doesn't work or something like that, right? So overall week history, this is where I look back on previous gaps of the stock and see, how did they trade. This one made new highs right out of the open and then dumped before like for 10:30 and then grinded back up sometimes in the afternoon. So these are all things I keep in mind while trading. Sometimes I get overwhelmed. I'm definitely not perfect. Not a millionaire yet, so definitely not perfect getting there, but this is just an insight into how I thesis plan. Next, let's look at the actual chart over the whole day and then I'll show you how I traded it. If you want to watch me trade it live, you can go back on my channel and there's live trading from pretty much every day, unless there's just like days where it was just really boring or there wasn't really anything to trade, then I'll normally take those off or I just won't stream that day. But on this day, you can look back and you can see my execution. I think it was around 20 minutes in, I took the trade. So make sure to go watch it live if you want to see like more information and what it looks like putting a trade on live, right? So we had the warrant level up at 4. You can see that it rejected that 412. So, other people obviously have some similar insights. Then I was looking, so my ideal plan was that it's gonna, pop pretty much to the warrant level and either get a rejection here If it's gonna trap and then go back to pre-market highs, then I was fine with that either, and then dump, right? So that was my ideal plan. I was sizing in, well, I had my size ready for, 3.90, $4, max 412 with like the risk above 430, right? Something around there. But it didn't. It did not pop. It instantly rejected VWAP at open, which was a surprise to me. I didn't think that was going to happen. And then it just tumbled. It just completely tumbled the whole day, didn't do anything. So this is something where, I have a good thesis on it. My setup is still here on it. It's just not acting completely how I want, right? There isn't a clear entry for me to enter here. And this is where I use indicators to help me. I don't ever really take a trade based off an indicator. I let them help me when I am struggling to find entries and exits. I think that's the best way for me personally to use them. So a great example is the 200 EMA. I use that as a clear sign that I'm going to get out. If it touches that, I'm getting out because I know most of the time it bounces. And I'm not risking another, like, to get another 10 cent. I'm not going to risk 20 cent of my profit to go back and then come back down. And you never know if it will come back down. So there's just no point, the risk to reward makes no sense. This is where I took the entry on. Also, I've seen some people asking me what broker I use. I use Trade Zero. A couple of people asked me on Twitter, but yeah, I use Trade Zero. I want to move to Cobra, and also Venom looks okay. And there's a couple other good brokers, but Trade Zero is pretty good at the moment. They do have a lot of hiccups, but So this is how the chart looked for me in the open. So as we saw, it rejected VWAP, and I think the better entry, to be honest, would be right here, to just trail along the 9 EMA. It's obviously showing a lot of weakness, and I have still good risk to reward here. I can have very tight stop, put my entry here, have my stop just above here, and aim for like the 5 minute EMAs. That would have been the better trade. Obviously, those trades I miss a good amount because I'm not like I'm midway scalper. I can't scalp a couple cents, and normally I'm looking for the bigger move, but some of these entries I do miss because I'm not thinking quick enough. But yeah. Anyway, so I watched it fall all the way down, break the 5 minute EMAs, and then I was thinking, okay, this is where I can, have tight risk and I can be pretty good with my entry. If it gives me a pop anywhere in between the 5 EMAs, I can just enter there, depending on price action, and then risk like the like a buffer above it, right? And if it reverses, then fine, I take 1 hour loss, but it's clear that if it's going to bounce from here, it's going to break the highs, and it's, if the selling is consistent, then it'll just break through and probably touch the 200 EMA. And that's pretty much what it did. I entered right in between where I wanted, had my wrist just above here, aimed for the 200 EMA, and it played out perfectly. And I think this is just how you can trade and adapt when your plan isn't, fully going the way you wanted. Never hold a trade that isn't going your way. But I'm more talking about, if the level doesn't even get close, right? If the price action just dumps from open, and you still want to get a piece of it. If it's still got like enough range to the bottom, it's not super near previous day close or things like that, then it's still worth the trade because you can still get something out of it. And if you still have a good setup and thesis on it, then I think it's totally fine to take these trades. I think at the beginning I thought these were like chasers, but I think these are more continuation plays, and I do actually quite like them. So that's pretty much today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Leave any comments. If you've got any questions, make sure to watch me live trade and you can see things in real time, me losing, me winning. And follow my Twitter for everyday executions of what I trade and how I did and how I'm feeling. Thank you very much.